Mike Tyson had always been a lightning bolt in the boxing world, a man whose reputation was as fierce outside the ring as it was inside. Known for his explosive power, indomitable spirit, and a lifestyle that often blurred the lines between brilliance and chaos, Tyson's name was synonymous with both triumph and tumult. In the bustling, unforgiving world of professional boxing, his presence commanded respect, fear, and curiosity, even as whispers of his past misdeeds and wild escapades swirled around him. Tyson had an uncanny ability to reinvent himself every time he stepped into the spotlight. On the eve of his most crucial fight against the formidable contender Berbick, the atmosphere in Tyson's training camp was charged with anticipation. The gym was a world of its own, a cacophony of pounding gloves, grunts, and the steady hum of motivational music. Here, amid the sweat and determination, Tyson was both a warrior and a man grappling with his own inner demons. His public persona, crafted through years of relentless training and a series of victories that had defined his career, now faced a new challenge that threatened not only his physical strength, but his personal reputation as well. Tyson's life had been punctuated by nights of indulgence and days of rigorous discipline. His reputation as a playboy had long been cemented by headlines and hushed conversations in locker rooms and dive bars alike. His wild nights out, replete with indulgence and every pleasure the world had to offer, had often led him down paths riddled with controversy. Despite the high-octane lifestyle, Tyson always managed to channel the chaos into a focused energy that fueled his dominance in the ring. However, as the date of the Berbick fight loomed closer, Tyson found himself at a crossroads, a moment where his past indulgences would collide with the brutal demands of professional sport. In this high-stakes period, every minute detail of Tyson's life was under a magnifying glass. Every personal choice and every secret indulgence was fodder for the tabloids and the relentless public scrutiny. The arena of boxing was unforgiving, and Tyson knew that any perceived weakness could be exploited by both his opponents and the media. Yet, for all the pressure and potential scandal, Tyson's resolve remained unbroken. His body, honed by years of brutal training, was a fortress, and his mind, though scarred by past controversies, was resolute in its singular focus: victory. The anticipation in the air was electric, a mixture of excitement, apprehension, and the relentless buzz of gossip. Friends, foes, and fans alike waited with bated breath for the showdown, where every punch would not only define the outcome of a match, but also serve as a statement, a declaration that Tyson, despite his imperfections, was the undisputed champion of his own destiny. In that moment, the stage was set for an epic confrontation, where the ringside lights would shine on more than just the physical prowess of a fighter. They would illuminate a man determined to overcome the shadows of his past and prove, once again, that nothing could derail his journey to greatness. As the night before the fight unfolded, Tyson found himself surrounded by a mix of old friends and new confidants, those who believed in his raw talent and those who doubted his ability to surmount the challenges posed by his lifestyle. In the midst of this inner circle, the tension was palpable. Every conversation, every nod of encouragement carried the weight of expectation. Tyson's story was not just one of physical conquest, it was the narrative of a man battling the odds, wrestling with his inner demons, and striving to rise above the scars of a tumultuous past. And with the break of dawn promising the start of the most significant match of his career, every heartbeat, every drop of sweat, and every whispered rumor would contribute to the saga of Mike Tyson, a saga defined by raw power, unyielding determination, and the constant quest for redemption. In the midst of his relentless training regimen and endless bouts of debauchery, a single unexpected moment threatened to shatter the carefully constructed facade of Mike Tyson's larger-than-life persona. Just one day before the fight with Berbick, a routine checkup turned into a nightmare that would haunt him both physically and emotionally. On that fateful morning, as Tyson prepared for another grueling training session, he made a discovery that would alter the course of events. A discovery that blurred the lines between his notorious lifestyle and the unforgiving demands of professional sport. During a routine visit to the clinic, Tyson experienced a moment of horror that he would later recount in his memoirs. One day before the match, I looked in my pants and saw some discharge, he later admitted, a statement that captured the raw, unfiltered reality of his personal struggles. The diagnosis was as brutal as it was unexpected. Mike Tyson had contracted gonorrhea, a sexually transmitted infection that not only threatened his physical well-being, but also carried the stigma of his indulgent lifestyle. For a man who had always prided himself on his physical strength, the revelation was a bitter pill to swallow. The news was more than just a personal health crisis. It was a stark reminder of the consequences of a life lived on the edge. Tyson's lifestyle, marked by endless nights of partying and reckless abandon, had finally caught up with him. The infection was a symbol of the dangers inherent in a life of excess, a tangible manifestation of the risks he had taken time and again. But as the diagnosis settled in, so did the reality that this setback occurred at a time when he could ill afford any distraction. Even as the doctor administered a shot of antibiotics, a last-ditch effort to stave off the worst of the infection, Tyson's mind was already racing ahead to the imminent fight. The thought of stepping into the ring, vulnerable and weakened, was enough to send a surge of adrenaline through his veins. In that moment of crisis, Tyson was faced with a choice: succumb to the physical and mental toll of the disease, or channel the pain and shame into fuel for his next great battle. The answer was clear, albeit fraught with risk. He would fight on, despite the odds. The weight of the diagnosis was compounded by the knowledge that every detail of his personal life was subject to public scrutiny. In the high-stakes world of boxing, any sign of weakness could be exploited by both the media and his opponents. Yet Tyson's reaction was not one of resignation. Instead, he saw the infection as yet another challenge, a test of his resilience and determination. The shot of antibiotics was a temporary fix, a band-aid on a wound inflicted by his own choices. But the real battle was ahead, in the ring, where every punch would be a declaration that he was still a force to be reckoned with. As he left the clinic, the cold clinical reality of his situation mingled with the fiery resolve burning within him. Tyson's mind was a battleground of conflicting emotions: anger, humiliation, and a fierce determination to reclaim control of his narrative. In the solitude of his thoughts, he resolved that this setback would not define him. The infection was a part of his past, a painful reminder of the consequences of a life of excess. But it would not dictate his future. With every step he took toward the training gym, Tyson steeled himself for the challenge ahead, determined to turn a moment of weakness into a catalyst for one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. The diagnosis of gonorrhea was more than a medical condition. It was a symbol of Tyson's complex, tumultuous life, a reminder that even the mightiest warriors could be brought low by the consequences of their own actions. And as he prepared to face the world once again, every punch thrown and every drop of sweat shed would be an act of defiance, a statement that no matter how fierce the challenge, Mike Tyson's spirit would never be broken. Shortly after the shocking discovery of his health crisis, the fragile veil of secrecy that Tyson had maintained was brutally torn apart by an act of betrayal. In a twist that seemed as cruel as it was inevitable, a white medical staff member, known for harboring prejudiced views and a penchant for sensationalism, became the unwilling catalyst for Tyson's next crisis. This individual, entrusted with Tyson's private medical information, chose not to maintain confidentiality. Instead, with a disregard for both professional ethics and the personal well-being of one of boxing's most renowned figures, the staff member leaked the news of Tyson's gonorrhea diagnosis to the public. The information spread like wildfire. Headlines exploded across sports news outlets, and social media buzzed with a mix of shock, amusement, and scorn. Fans who once idolized Tyson now saw him in a new light, a man whose personal failings were on full display, a vulnerability exploited for the sake of scandal. The revelation was not merely a private matter, but a public spectacle, one that threatened to overshadow his athletic prowess with the stain of a compromised personal life. For Tyson, the betrayal cut deep. The thought that someone within the trusted confines of his medical team would share such intimate details for the sake of gossip was a bitter pill to swallow. The staff members' actions were fueled, at least in part, by a toxic mix of racism and a desire to undermine Tyson's already fragile reputation. The leaked information not only revealed his health crisis, but also magnified his past transgressions, the nights of reckless indulgence, the scandalous escapades, and the lifestyle that had often been the subject of both admiration and condemnation. As the news circulated, the pressure mounted. Tyson was suddenly not just preparing to face an opponent in the ring, but also the relentless scrutiny of a judgmental public. The media's portrayal of the incident painted him as a cautionary tale, a fallen star whose brilliance was dimmed by personal failings. Every public appearance, every training session, was now shadowed by the awareness that the world was watching, ready to pounce on any sign of weakness. The scandal became a crucible of public opinion, where every comment and every headline stung like a physical blow. In the midst of the storm, Tyson found himself at a crossroads. The public humiliation was overwhelming, yet it also sparked an inner resolve to reclaim control of his narrative. Rather than retreating in shame, Tyson resolved to channel the negativity into a powerful display of determination. Every rumor, every spiteful remark became fuel for his determination to prove that he was more than the sum of his mistakes. The challenge was not just in the upcoming fight against Berbick. It was in the battle for his own dignity and identity. Despite the personal turmoil, Tyson's focus remained unwavering. In the weeks that followed, he immersed himself in training with an intensity that bordered on obsessive. The gym became his sanctuary, a place where the roar of the crowd and the echoes of scandal faded into the background. Each punch thrown and every drop of sweat was a silent rebuttal to those who sought to define him by his missteps. In the ring, he would transform the narrative from one of disgrace to one of unyielding strength. Yet, the betrayal still lingered. The memory of that careless leak, the racially charged undercurrent behind it, was a reminder of the fragility of trust in a world where personal secrets could be weaponized against you. For Tyson, the public exposure of his private battle was a double-edged sword, an affront to his honor and a catalyst for an even greater comeback. As the pressure of the scandal built to a fever pitch, one thing was clear. Mike Tyson was not going to let a single act of betrayal define him. His journey was now as much about reclaiming his reputation as it was about securing victory in the ring. In the public eye, the narrative had shifted. Tyson was no longer just the fearsome boxer with an indomitable will. He was also a symbol of resilience, a man who had been exposed at his most vulnerable moment, yet refused to be defeated by it. And as the countdown to the fight began, every whispered rumor and every sneering comment only served to fortify his resolve. The scandal, born out of one person's careless act and toxic prejudice, would soon be eclipsed by a triumph that promised to silence the critics once and for all. With the bitter taste of scandal and betrayal still fresh on his lips, Mike Tyson found himself standing at a crossroads. The weight of public humiliation and a health crisis that threatened to undermine his legacy could have easily sent any ordinary man into a spiral of despair. But for Tyson, this was yet another battle, a challenge to be met head-on with the ferocity and determination that had always defined him. In the face of overwhelming adversity, he resolved that he would not only fight the man across the ring, but also fight for his own redemption. In the days leading up to the fight with Berbick, Tyson's training took on an almost otherworldly intensity. The gym, already a crucible of discipline and raw energy, became his battlefield, a place where every jab, every combination, and every drop of sweat was a declaration of defiance against the forces that sought to tarnish his name. With the stinging memory of the leaked medical records and the racist betrayal fueling his determination, Tyson channeled every ounce of anger and frustration into perfecting his technique. Every punch was measured, every movement calculated, as he sought to transform personal pain into physical prowess. Tyson's mental preparation was as rigorous as his physical training. In the quiet hours before dawn, as the city slept, he would sit alone in his locker room, replaying the events in his mind. The sting of betrayal, the shame of public exposure, and the relentless pressure of expectations all swirled together to create a storm of emotions. Yet, in that turbulent mental landscape, Tyson discovered a fierce resolve. He refused to be defined by his mistakes or by the cruelty of those who had betrayed him. Instead, he saw these challenges as stepping stones, a way to prove that his spirit was unbreakable. Friends and trainers rallied around him during these dark hours. They reminded Tyson of the countless battles he had already won, of the spirit that had carried him through every adversity, no matter how insurmountable. Their unwavering support, mixed with a few harsh words of caution, served as a powerful reminder that the true measure of a champion was not in avoiding setbacks, but in rising above them. Tyson's inner circle became a fortress of motivation, where the shared goal of redemption and victory overshadowed every negative headline and every whispered rumor. Yet, beneath the hardened exterior, Tyson was painfully aware of the personal cost of his lifestyle, a cost that had now manifested in the form of a debilitating health crisis and a shattered reputation. Every day was a constant reminder that indulgence came at a price, and that price was sometimes paid in the currency of public scorn. But rather than allowing this realization to break him, Tyson used it as a catalyst for change. He made a silent vow to himself that this fight against Berbick would be more than just another bout. It would be the moment when he reclaimed his honor and silenced his critics for good. As the final hours before the fight ticked away, Tyson's determination solidified into a fierce commitment. In the solitude of his training sessions, with the echoes of the past fueling his every move, he embraced the challenge with a warrior's heart. The ring was not merely a venue for physical combat, it was the arena where he would confront every personal demon, every whispered accusation, and every scar left by a life lived on the edge. In that crucible of sweat, pain, and unyielding resolve, Mike Tyson was preparing not just for a fight, he was preparing to write the next chapter of his legacy, one defined by resilience, redemption, and the sheer will to overcome. When the lights dimmed over the arena and the roar of the crowd reached a fever pitch, Mike Tyson stepped into the ring carrying the weight of his personal battles and the fierce determination to overcome them. Every eye in the stadium was fixed on him, not just to witness his physical prowess, but to see if the legend could rise above the scandal and reclaim his place among boxing's elite. The air was charged with anticipation, a palpable energy that underscored the significance of this fight, one that would test not only Tyson's strength, but his spirit. From the opening bell, the fight was a whirlwind of movement and emotion. Tyson's opponent, Berbick, came out swinging with a confidence that bordered on arrogance, certain that Tyson's recent troubles would leave him vulnerable. But Mike was no stranger to adversity. Every blow he had absorbed in the past, every moment of humiliation and public scorn, had only served to harden him further. In the ring, Tyson transformed his personal pain into raw power, unleashing a series of rapid, devastating punches that left the audience in awe. The fight unfolded like a well-rehearsed symphony of combat. Tyson's strategy was clear: to use his speed, power, and cunning to dismantle Berbick's defenses before his opponent could even register the shock of his relentless assault. Each round was a testament to Tyson's unwavering resolve. With every punch, every dodge, and every calculated counter, he sent a message, not only to Berbick, but to a world that had doubted him, that he was still the undisputed master of the ring. Amidst the physical ferocity of the battle, there was an undeniable emotional intensity. Every time Tyson landed a crushing blow, it was as if he was punching through the layers of public shame and personal regret that had accumulated over the years. His mind, still echoing with the bitter memory of betrayal and the sting of public humiliation, found solace in the rhythm of the fight. In that moment, the ring became a place of catharsis, a stage on which he would rewrite his story with each thunderous strike. The crowd, initially divided by curiosity and skepticism, soon became fervent supporters of Tyson's triumphant comeback. Their cheers and chants filled the arena, a roaring tide that buoyed his spirit even as his body pushed through its limits. For every blow Tyson delivered, there was a surge of vindication, a reaffirmation that no matter how fierce the scandal or how deep the personal wounds, his will to triumph was indomitable. As the final rounds approached, it became clear that the battle was not just about physical endurance, but a mental war of attrition. Tyson's eyes, burning with a mixture of rage and determination, locked onto his opponent with a focus that seemed almost otherworldly. In one climactic moment, a decisive combination of blows left Berbick staggering, a moment of brilliance that sealed the fate of the fight. The bell rang, marking the end of the bout, and in that charged silence, the outcome was unmistakable. Mike Tyson had emerged victorious. The arena exploded into a cacophony of cheers and applause, a collective celebration of not only the victory in the ring, but the triumph over personal adversity. For Tyson, the fight had been more than just a physical contest. It had been a declaration of resilience, a reaffirmation of his legacy, and a powerful repudiation of every doubter who had ever questioned his ability to overcome. In that moment of triumph, as he raised his gloved fist in victory, Tyson was not simply a boxer. He was a man who had wrestled with his inner demons and emerged victorious, ready to reclaim his place at the pinnacle of the sport. In the days following his resounding victory, as the euphoria of the win slowly settled into a reflective calm, Mike Tyson was faced with yet another unexpected twist in his tumultuous journey. While the public celebrated his triumph and his resilience in the face of scandal, a private discovery threatened to reopen old wounds. Amid the aftermath of the fight, Tyson uncovered evidence that the scandal which had almost derailed his career was not simply the consequence of a reckless past. It was the result of a deliberate betrayal. In a shocking turn of events, he discovered that the medical staff member who had leaked his private health information had done so by accessing sensitive messages on her phone. The discovery was a bittersweet revelation. On one hand, it confirmed Tyson's worst suspicions about the breach of trust and the calculated nature of the leak. On the other, it forced him to confront the complexity of human error and prejudice. The realization that even within the walls of an institution meant to protect, betrayal could lurk. As he pored over the evidence, Tyson was struck by the cold precision of the act. A simple glance at a phone had been enough to spark a chain reaction of rumors and public humiliation. It was a betrayal that stung deeply, yet it also revealed a disturbing truth about the toxic environment in which personal vulnerabilities were exploited for gain. Despite the shock and the anger that welled up within him, Tyson's reaction was far from vengeful. In a moment of remarkable clarity and maturity, he made a decision that surprised even those closest to him. He chose forgiveness over retribution. Rather than reporting the breach to the hospital authorities or demanding severe punishment, Tyson opted to keep the matter contained. His decision was driven not by weakness, but by an understanding that harboring bitterness would only detract from the hard-fought victory he had earned in the ring. In private conversations with members of his inner circle, Tyson expressed a nuanced view of the betrayal. He acknowledged that while the actions of the medical staff member had been unethical and driven by a blend of prejudice and personal vendetta, they were also a symptom of a larger, more corrosive problem within the system. The scandal, he realized, was as much about the vulnerabilities of a man in the public eye as it was about the failings of those entrusted with his care. In choosing forgiveness, Tyson set an example that transcended the boundaries of sport. His decision to overlook the breach, to spare the hospital from a scandal that could have resulted in severe consequences for the individual involved, was a testament to the depth of his character. For Tyson, the act of forgiving was not an absolution of the wrong committed, but rather an affirmation that his focus would remain on the future, a future built on resilience, redemption, and the unyielding spirit that had carried him through countless battles. As the media eventually moved on to the next story, the full details of the betrayal faded into the background, replaced by headlines celebrating Tyson's comeback and his latest triumph. Yet, in the quiet moments away from the public eye, Mike Tyson continued to reflect on the lessons learned from this ordeal. He recognized that true strength was not measured solely by physical prowess in the ring, but by the capacity to forgive, to rise above pettiness, and to remain steadfast in the pursuit of personal integrity. In the end, the scandal that had once threatened to mar his legacy was transformed into a powerful narrative of redemption, a story of a man who, despite the betrayals and the personal demons that had once loomed large, chose to rise above them with grace and humility. And as he looked toward the horizon, Tyson knew that his journey was far from over, a journey defined by the constant struggle to remain true to oneself, no matter how high the stakes may be. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on more thrilling stories. Drop a comment below with your thoughts and share this story with those who need to hear it. Turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. See you in the next exciting and meaningful story.